All right, so are you ready to dive into the world of startups in 2024?
Always ready to talk startups.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And we've got this really interesting report here from Upsilon.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this one.
Yeah, it's called 28 Latest Startup Trends for 2024 and beyond.
And the nearest future.
Yeah, that's right. And the nearest future.
It's a good one.
It is good. And it really dives into like the funding and, all the things that make or break a startup.
It does, and that's what makes it so valuable, I think.
Yeah.
It's not just the list of trends, it's like a guidebook
Right.
for navigating this crazy world.
Exactly. And one of the things that they highlight right away is that funding is still like the #1
Oh, yeah.
issue for startups.
Make or break?
Yeah, they say almost a third
A third.
of startups fail because they
Yeah.
just run out of cash.
Yeah, and that's something that I think a lot of people don't realize. They
Yeah.
get so caught up in the excitement of their idea
Right.
that they don't always plan for the long haul.
It's not just about having a brilliant idea. It's about making sure you can actually bring that idea to life.
Exactly, and that takes resources.
Yeah.
It takes funding.
So what are some of the funding trends that the report highlights that really stood out to you?
Well, one thing that's really interesting is the rise of angel groups.
Angel groups.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a team effort when it comes to investing.
Yeah.
So instead of having one big investor, you have a group of individuals who pool their money together.
So it's like Shark Tank, but with a bunch of smaller sharks.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's a more collaborative approach to investing, and it gives startups more options when it comes to securing funding.
That's actually really encouraging because it means there's more opportunity for startups to get off the ground.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the money either.
Right.
These angel groups often bring a wealth of experience and mentorship to the table.
Yeah, so it's like they're invested in the success of the startup, not just financially, but also, their time and their expertise.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
And then on the flip side of that, the report also talks about the risks of crowdfunding.
Crowdfunding, right?
Yeah, it's a fantastic tool for some startups,
Sure.
but it can also be a breeding ground for scams.
Right.
Especially in industries like gaming where you have a lot of passionate fans.
Yeah. It's important to do your research
Absolutely.
before you invest in any crowdfunding campaign.
Due diligence is crucial.
Absolutely. So we've got angel groups, we've got crowdfunding. What other kind of funding trends are we seeing out there?
Well, venture capitalists are still a major force in the startup world,
Right.
but they're becoming more selective.
Really?
Yeah, they're really focusing on industries that have the potential to make a global impact.
Like what?
So things like healthcare, clean energy, biotech.
So it's not just about making a profit anymore, it's about making a difference.
Exactly. It's about investing in solutions to some of the world's biggest challenges.
I love that.
And the report really emphasizes this shift towards impact investing.
Impact investing. I like that.
It's a win-win situation.
It is.
You get to support businesses that are doing good in the world and potentially make a return on your investment at the same time.
I like the sound of that. So it seems like the funding landscape is evolving
Oh, it definitely is.
and that startups really need to be savvy and strategic about where they're seeking funding.
Absolutely.
It's not just about going after the biggest check anymore.
Nope.
It's about finding investors who align with your values and your vision for the future.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, so we've talked about the importance of funding.
Yeah.
But what about the startups themselves? What are some of the common mistakes that they're making that are leading to their downfall?
Well, the report actually has this hilarious but also kind of scary list
Yeah.
called 20 Ways to Crash and Burn Your Startup.
20 ways to crash and burn.
I know, right?
I kind of want to hear these.
It's a must-read.
Okay, so what are some of the top avoid at all costs moves that they highlight?
All right, so number 1, neglecting market research. It's like baking a cake without tasting it.
Right.
You need to know your audience and what they want.
Absolutely. You can't just assume that everyone's going to love your product just because you think it's amazing.
Exactly.
You got to do your homework.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, what else?
Second big mistake, putting all your eggs in one basket when it comes to distribution.
Okay, so like relying on a single channel to reach your customers.
Exactly. Like just relying on Facebook ads or something like that.
Right. You need to diversify.
Absolutely.
Okay, that makes sense.
The more channels you have, the more likely you are to reach your target market.
Makes perfect sense. And the third one.
This one's huge, ignoring emerging technologies.
Okay, so like burying your head in the sand and hoping that the tech world just passes you by.
Pretty much.
Not a good strategy.
Not at all.
So basically, you need to be constantly learning,
Yeah.
adapting,
Absolutely.
revolving with the times.
It's a fast-paced world out there.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked about some of the common pitfalls.
Yeah.
But what about the success stories? What are the startups that are killing it doing differently?
Well, the report found that they all share a few key traits.
Okay, like what?
First and foremost, they really understand their customers.
All
They're
right.
not just guessing, they're actively seeking feedback
Okay.
and using that feedback to improve their product or service.
So it's about being agile and responsive.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
And what else?
They're also really good at adapting to change.
Right,
The startup world is constantly evolving,
right.
and the most successful startups are the ones that can pivot and adjust their strategies as needed.
Mhm.
So it's about being flexible and not being afraid to change course.
Exactly.
That makes sense. And the report also mentions something called the lean startup methodology.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
What is that exactly?
So it's basically a framework for building and launching products
Okay.
that emphasizes experimentation and iteration.
So it's about testing your assumptions and learning from your mistakes.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. And how does that apply to startups specifically?
Well, it allows startups to validate their ideas quickly
Okay.
and make adjustments early on.
So it's about minimizing risk
Exactly.
by getting feedback from real customers as early as possible.
You got it.
I love that because it's so easy to get caught up in your own little bubble
It is.
and think that your idea is perfect.
Yeah.
But the reality is you don't know until you get it out there.
Yep.
And test it and see how people actually respond.
Exactly. And that's what the lean startup methodology helps you do.
All right, so we've talked about funding.
Yeah.
We've talked about some of the mistakes that startups are making. And
Yeah.
we've talked about what the successful startups are doing differently.
Yeah.
But what about the technology?
Oh, yeah.
What are some of the game-changing technologies that are shaping the startup landscape?
Well, get ready for this because it's about to get really exciting.
I'm ready.
The report goes deep on things like AI, machine learning, and how those are really transforming industries.
Okay, like what are some examples?
Healthcare is a big one.
Okay.
Startups are using AI to personalize treatments.
Wow, so it's like having a doctor that's specifically tailored to your needs.
Exactly. It's like having a medical team that knows you inside and out.
That's incredible and a little bit scary at the same time.
A little bit, yeah, but mostly incredible, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the potential is huge.
It is. It's about using technology to solve some of the biggest challenges we face as humans.
I like it. So healthcare is a big one. What else?
Well, we have to talk about quantum computing.
Okay, that sounds like something out of Star Trek.
I know, right? But it's becoming more and more real every day.
Really? So it's not just theoretical anymore?
Nope. Companies are actually building quantum computers.
Like who?
There's this company called Pascal.
Okay.
They're developing quantum processors that are mind-blowingly powerful.
Okay, so what does that even mean? Like, what can you do with a quantum computer that you can't do with a regular computer?
Well, for one thing, it can process information exponentially faster, like tasks that would take a normal computer thousands of years to solve.
Yeah.
A quantum computer could do in minutes.
Wow. Okay, so what does that mean for startups?
It means they can tackle problems that were previously impossible,
Like what?
like developing new drugs and materials,
Okay.
creating unbreakable encryption algorithms.
So it's like opening up a whole new world of possibilities.
Exactly. It's a game changer.
All right, so we've got AI, we've got quantum computing. What else is on the horizon?
Well, we can't talk about the future of startups without talking about Web3.
Web 3. Okay, I've heard that term thrown around, but I'm not entirely sure what it is.
So basically, it's the next generation of the internet,
Okay.
built on blockchain technology.
Okay. And what does that mean for the average person?
It means more control over your data, more security, and more opportunities to participate in the digital economy.
So it's like taking back the internet from the big tech companies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about decentralization.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
But how realistic is it? I mean, can we really create a truly decentralized internet?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the technology is there, the potential is there, and the momentum is building.
So it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. And the report highlights some of the key players in the Web3 space.
Like who?
Well, there's this company called Cyber365.
Okay.
They're focused on cybersecurity for Web3.
Oh, that's important.
Yeah, because as we move towards a more decentralized internet,
Yeah.
security is going to be more important than ever.
Right, because it's not just about protecting our data anymore. It's about protecting our identities.
Exactly.
Our finances, everything.
It's all connected.
So we've got AI, quantum computing, Web 3. It seems like the future of technology is all about pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Absolutely. And the report really emphasizes that.
And it makes you wonder what other groundbreaking technologies are just around the corner.
Right. Like, what's next?
Exactly what haven't we even thought of yet?
It's an exciting time to be following the startup world.
It really is.
Yeah.
It feels like there's a new innovation every day.
And the pace of change is only going to accelerate.
I believe it. All right, so we've talked about some of the big picture technologies.
Right.
But what about the more practical stuff, like where you actually start your company?
Oh, location, location, location.
Exactly, that still matters.
More than ever.
Really?
Yeah, because it's not just about finding an office space anymore. It's about tapping into an ecosystem.
An ecosystem.
Yeah, a community of entrepreneurs, investors, and mentors.
So where are the hot spots for startups these days?
Well, Silicon Valley's still a major player, of course.
Right.
But it's not the only game in town anymore.
Really? So where else are people going?
Well, Asia is booming.
Asia.
Yeah, cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Bangalore, Singapore.
Wow, okay.
They're attracting massive investment.
Yeah.
And they're home to some of the most innovative startups in the world.
So it's a global playing field now.
Absolutely.
I like it.
Yeah.
So we've got Asia, we've got Silicon Valley. What about Europe?
Europe's got its own hotspots, too.
Like where?
Bonn and Berlin, Paris.
Okay, so those are all major cities, but what about for startups that are just starting out? Are there any smaller cities that are worth considering?
Absolutely. The report highlights a few up-and-coming startup hubs.
Like,
Places like Austin, Texas,
okay,
Boston, Massachusetts, Seattle, Washington.
interesting. And what makes these cities so appealing to startups?
Well, for one thing, they tend to have a lower cost of living than Silicon Valley,
That makes sense.
which is huge for startups that are just getting started.
Yeah, every penny counts.
Exactly. And they also have a strong talent pool.
So it's a combination of factors
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot.
where you can attract top talent
Yep.
without breaking the bank.
Exactly. And where you can be part of a thriving startup community.
So it's not just about the city itself, it's about the people and the energy that they bring.
Absolutely. It's about finding your tribe.
I like that. So it sounds like the startup world is becoming more global,
Yeah.
more accessible, and more competitive than ever before.
Oh, yeah. The stakes are high.
They are, but
Yeah.
so are the rewards.
Absolutely. And that's what makes it so exciting.
Okay, so we've talked about funding, we've talked about technology, we've talked about location.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that startups really need to be thinking about as we head into the rest of 2024?
You know, one thing that the report really hammers home is the importance of company culture.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so like, what kind of culture are we talking about here? Because the startup world has always been known for being kind of like fast-paced and demanding.
Right. And that's not necessarily a bad thing,
Right.
but it's important to create an environment where people feel supported and valued.
Okay. So it's about finding that balance
Exactly.
between pushing for growth and innovation, but also making sure that your employees are happy and engaged.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, it's the people who make the company.
That's so true, and it seems like the way we work is changing too.
Oh, yeah.
Like remote work is becoming more and more common.
It's the new normal.
Right, and the report actually talks about the rise of asynchronous communication.
Yeah, that's a mouthful, isn't it?
It is. What does that even mean?
So basically, it means that people don't have to be online at the same time to collaborate.
Okay.
It's about giving employees the flexibility to work when and where they're most productive.
So it's about trust
Yeah,
and autonomy.
absolutely.
I like it. But how do you build a strong team culture when everyone's working remotely?
That's the challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's definitely possible.
Oh.
It's about creating opportunities for people to connect. Okay. Even if it's just virtually.
So like virtual happy hours and
Exactly.
team building exercises.
Or even just regular check-ins.
Right.
Where you can see how everyone's doing.
So it's about being intentional about building those relationships.
Absolutely, because relationships are everything.
They are. So we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From funding to technology to location to company culture.
It's a lot to digest.
It is.
Yeah.
But I think if there's one thing that we can all agree on, it's that the world of startups is incredibly exciting
Absolutely.
and constantly evolving.
There's never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment.
Yeah.
So for anyone out there who's thinking about starting their own company,
Yeah.
what advice would you give them?
I would say just go for it.
Just go for it.
Don't be afraid to fail.
Because failure is just a part of the process.
Yeah. Exactly. It's how we learn and grow.
I love that. So embrace the unknown, be prepared to pivot, and never stop learning.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap things up here.
Sound good.
It's been a pleasure as always.
Likewise.
And for our listeners out there, be sure to check out the full Upsilon report.
Yes, definitely a must read.
It's packed with even more insights and trends that we didn't have time to cover today.
So much good stuff in there.
It is, and until next time, stay curious.
and stay innovative.
Absolutely. Goodbye, everyone.
See you later.